They call you when they're lonely. They text just enough to keep your hopes alive. They say you're special, but somehow you're still stuck in the almost zone. You're close, but never close enough. Connected, but never truly chosen. Let me tell you something that most people are too scared to admit. Being halfway loved is more dangerous than being completely ignored, because it makes you wait for a door that was never going to open. This isn't confusion. This isn't timing. This isn't, they're just not ready. This is emotional manipulation dressed as affection. When someone keeps you close but never fully commits, they're feeding off your energy while withholding what you truly deserve. Real effort, real intention, real love. And the most dangerous part? They do just enough to keep you from walking away. Here's the truth. If someone wanted to choose you, they would. People don't hesitate with what they truly value. They hesitate when they want the benefits of your presence without the responsibility of commitment. They want your support, your loyalty, your availability, but not your expectations. That's not love. That's control. And here's where psychology cuts through the lies. This kind of dynamic keeps your nervous system in survival mode. It creates emotional highs and lows that mimic addiction. You become hooked, not on love, but on inconsistency. You start measuring your worth by their attention, and that's where they win, until you wake up. In this video, we're diving deep. I'm going to break down 10 psychological truths that will help you see this pattern clearly. Stop tolerating emotional breadcrumbs and take your power back, because you weren't born to be someone's almost. You weren't made to beg for clarity or prove your worth. You're not too much. You're not hard to love. You've just been giving your heart to someone who benefits from keeping you confused. It ends now. Let's talk psychology. Let's talk commitment. Let's talk about how to become the kind of person who no longer accepts almost love and starts commanding the real thing. Let's dive in. Number 1. Ambiguity is a control tactic, not a flaw. They're not confused. They're not figuring things out. They're creating ambiguity on purpose. Why? Because psychologically, ambiguity breeds attachment. When someone gives you mixed signals, hot one day, cold the next, your brain interprets it as a puzzle. And what does the human brain do with a puzzle? It tries to solve it. This pattern creates what's known in psychology as intermittent reinforcement, a reward system that gives just enough to keep you invested, but not enough to fulfill you. It's the same system that makes slot machines addictive. You're never sure when the next reward is coming. One minute it's affection, the next it's distance. That unpredictability keeps you emotionally hooked, checking your phone, questioning yourself, hoping for crumbs. And here's the dangerous truth. This isn't love. It's behavioral conditioning. You're being trained to accept inconsistency, trained to find meaning in mixed signals. And the more inconsistent they are, the more obsessed you become with finding stability in them, when the real answer is to find that stability in yourself. If someone truly values you, they don't leave you confused. They don't keep you guessing. Commitment isn't complicated, it's a decision. But when they refuse to decide and still keep you close, it's because they benefit from the emotional access without having to show up with integrity. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." This kind of ambiguity is the enemy of calm. And if it steals your peace, it's costing you more than it's giving. Stop romanticizing confusion. Stop thinking love has to be earned through emotional chaos. If they wanted to commit, they wouldn't need space to figure out what's obvious to someone who's sure. You are not an option to be weighed. You are a whole person worthy of clarity, consistency, and conscious love. The more you tolerate ambiguity, the more power you give to someone who's using it as a shield. Recognize it, name it, walk away from it, because real love doesn't feel like guessing. Number 2, emotional availability isn't an accident, it's a choice. You keep giving them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they're just not ready. Maybe they've been hurt before. Maybe if I give it more time, they'll come around. But here's what psychology tells us. Emotional availability is not something people stumble into. It's something they choose. When someone is emotionally unavailable, it's not because they physically can't connect. It's because they won't. They are consciously avoiding intimacy, vulnerability, and accountability. They may have their own traumas, yes, but their healing is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to recognize when someone is emotionally closed off and stop trying to pry the door open with your worth. And yet, you stay. Why? Because they give you just enough to keep you hoping. You feel like you're getting closer, but the goalposts keep moving. One moment, they're open and affectionate. The next, they're distant and cold. And every time they pull away, you chase harder, because your brain equates emotional distance with rejection, and rejection triggers your survival instincts. But here's the truth. You don't need to earn love from someone who is capable of giving it, but refuses to. The moment you realize that love should feel safe, not like a test, you begin to reclaim your emotional clarity. There's a quote by Epictetus that drives this point home. Never depend on the admiration of others. There is no strength in it. Waiting for an emotionally unavailable person to commit is like waiting for approval from someone who benefits from withholding it. It's not about your worth, it's about their avoidance. Stop confusing chemistry with compatibility. Just because the connection is intense doesn't mean it's healthy. And just because they keep you close doesn't mean they're ever planning to commit. Some people will hold you emotionally hostage just to avoid being alone. You deserve someone who doesn't just want you when it's convenient. Someone who's brave enough to show up even when it's hard. Someone who doesn't keep you on standby while they figure themselves out. Emotional availability isn't luck. It's a mindset. And if they're not choosing it, you need to choose yourself. Number 3, proximity isn't intimacy. Stop confusing the two. They text you at night. They call you when they're bored. They share bits and pieces of themselves that feel deep. You think you're building something. But here's the hard truth. Just because someone is close to you doesn't mean they're connected to you. Psychologically, we mistake proximity, frequent communication, occasional vulnerability, physical presence, for intimacy. But real intimacy isn't how often they reach out. It's how much they invest. It's not about being around, it's about being available in the moments that matter. Someone can sleep next to you, talk to you daily, even share secrets, and still keep a wall up. That wall is made of fear, ego, past pain, or emotional immaturity. And if you're not careful, you'll spend months or years trying to climb it, thinking if you just love them harder, they'll let you in. But here's what psychology teaches. People open up when they feel safe and when they choose to. And if they never fully let you in, it's not because you're not good enough. It's because they were never ready to be seen, even by themselves. This kind of dynamic is emotionally exhausting. It creates a cycle where you overextend, overanalyze, and overinvest, while they give you just enough to keep you hoping. And you tell yourself it's real because of the time you've shared, the closeness you felt, the memories you've built. But let's be clear, closeness without commitment is a cage, and the longer you stay, the more you shrink to fit into their limitations. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If your mind is consumed by decoding their mixed signals, second-guessing your worth, or trying to predict their next move, you're no longer in a relationship. You're in survival mode. Stop mistaking access for affection. Stop thinking that being needed means being valued. They can keep you close and still refuse to meet you where you are emotionally. If someone wants to build real intimacy, they don't withhold it. They don't make you earn it. They bring their whole self and invite you to do the same. It's time to stop settling for presence without partnership. Number 4. Confusion is a red flag, not a phase. They say they care. They say they're just not ready. They talk about the future but never move toward it. One moment they pull you in. The next they push you away. And you're stuck in the middle, asking yourself, what are we? Where is this going? Here's the truth. Confusion is clarity in disguise. Psychologically, consistent confusion in a relationship is not an accident. It's a red flag. It's a manipulation loop, a mental fog designed to make you stay hopeful while they avoid responsibility. And the longer you stay confused, the more power they have. This kind of mental fog feeds on emotional investment. The more time you spend thinking about them, decoding their words, analyzing their actions, the deeper the emotional hook goes. That confusion keeps your brain in problem-solving mode. You stay because you believe that clarity is just one more talk, one more chance, one more change away. But in reality, the confusion is the answer, because people who are serious about you don't leave you uncertain. They don't keep you in limbo. They don't say, maybe someday, while enjoying the benefits of now. According to relationship psychology, consistent indecisiveness is a covert way of saying, I don't want to lose you, but I'm not willing to fully choose you either. And that's not love. That's emotional greed. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." If someone is unsure about you, it's not your job to convince them. It's your job to be sure about yourself and walk away from anything that muddies your peace. Because your heart is not a project. Your time is not a negotiation. Stop staying for potential. Start standing for standards. You are not hard to love. You are not asking for too much. You're asking the wrong person to meet you at a level they were never committed to reaching. And once you see the confusion for what it is, not a phase but a pattern, you'll stop waiting for clarity from them and start finding certainty in yourself. Number 5. Mixed signals are a power play, not innocence. They say one thing and do another. They flirt, then disappear. They open up, then shut down. One moment you feel chosen, next you feel disposable. You think they're just confused or bad at communication. But here's the psychological truth. Mixed signals are not a sign of confusion. They're a form of control. When someone sends you emotional highs and lows, they're training your nervous system to depend on their unpredictability. It's called intermittent reinforcement, and it's one of the strongest psychological tools in manipulation. It's the same principle used in gambling addiction. You don't get a reward every time, but just often enough to keep you hooked. When they act distant, you panic. When they come back, you feel relief. That relief becomes addictive, and suddenly you're not in love. You're in survival, trying to earn the next moment of connection. But here's the catch. They know exactly what they're doing. They know the breadcrumbs they drop keep you emotionally invested. And the more you invest, the harder it becomes to walk away. Even when you know you're being hurt, this isn't about your worth. This is about their control. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." If your thoughts are consumed by someone's inconsistency, you are handing over your peace and calling it patience. You need to stop romanticizing instability. Love shouldn't feel like a game you have to win. If someone genuinely wants you, they won't play with your mind to keep you chasing. They'll show up clearly, consistently, completely. Mixed signals are not a misunderstanding. They're a message. I want your attention without giving you certainty. Don't fall for the chaos. Don't normalize the inconsistency. You deserve clarity, not confusion. Intention, not indecision. So stop decoding their mixed signals and start interpreting them as disinterest or emotional immaturity. That's not cruelty, that's clarity. And once you accept that, you stop waiting for them to commit and start committing to your peace. Number 6, stop settling for less. They give you just enough to keep you around. A text when you pull away, a compliment when you start detaching, a night of vulnerability followed by days of silence. You tell yourself, at least they care a little. But that little bit? It's not love, it's control. Psychologically, what you're experiencing is breadcrumbing, the act of giving someone small pieces of attention to maintain emotional influence without offering real commitment. It's not unintentional, it's a survival tactic. And you're the one stuck in emotional limbo because of it. These crumbs trigger a dopamine response, the brain chemical linked to reward and pleasure. Every message, every flirtation, every moment of affection hits like a rush. But it's not sustainable. You keep chasing the next hit while losing sight of your standards. This isn't connection. This is starvation. And over time, this starvation convinces you that less is better than nothing. That almost is something to hold on to, but it's not, because someone who truly values you doesn't ration their presence. They show up fully or not at all. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more. That is poor." Craving more from someone who only offers scraps of affection is emotional poverty. It's draining, it's defeating. And worst of all, it rewires your self-worth to match their inconsistency. You deserve a full meal, not crumbs, not empty promises, not half-hearted gestures. Stop letting temporary validation distract you from long-term peace. Stop making excuses for their emotional laziness. Start asking, if this is all they ever give me, could I live with that forever? The answer is your freedom, because the longer you accept the bare minimum, the longer you delay the life and love you were meant for. Number 7, attachment to potential will keep you stuck in pain. You see what they could be, what the relationship might become. You fall in love with their depth, their soul, their broken pieces. You convince yourself that if you just hold on a little longer, they'll heal, they'll wake up, they'll choose you. But here's the psychological truth. Falling in love with someone's potential is a trap. You're not loving the person. They're showing you who they are through inconsistency, avoidance, and half-effort. You're loving a fantasy, a version of them that only exists in your mind. And every time they fall short, you blame yourself, thinking maybe if you were more patient, more loving, more understanding, they'd finally become who you need. But they won't, because they don't have to. As long as you stay attached to potential, you give them no reason to grow. You become the emotional safety net that allows them to stay stagnant. And while you invest your heart into their maybe, you abandon your own certainty. This is what psychologists call future faking, When someone hints at future intimacy or commitment, but never actually delivers. It keeps you emotionally invested in what's coming, not what's real. And here's where Stoicism comes in. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Stop waiting for them to become the partner you need. Start becoming the partner you deserve. First, to yourself. Stop wasting your life hoping someone will grow into who they should have already been. Potential is only valuable when it comes with action. Otherwise, it's just a distraction dressed in hope. So, the next time you feel tempted to stay because of what could be, ask yourself, are they meeting me now, or am I just filling in the blanks with dreams? You deserve love that's present, not promised. And number 8, boundaries aren't ultimatums, they're standards. When someone keeps you close but never fully commits, it's easy to doubt yourself. You fear that setting boundaries will push them away. You tell yourself, if I just stay flexible, maybe they'll choose me. But flexibility without limits becomes self-betrayal. Here's what psychology and Stoic wisdom agree on. Your boundaries are not threats, they are filters. They don't push away the right person, they reveal the wrong one. People who benefit from your lack of boundaries will always call them unreasonable, but those who genuinely care will see them as a reflection of your self-respect. They'll rise to meet them, or they'll leave. Either way, you win. The reason boundaries feel scary is because they force clarity. And when someone wants to keep you in limbo, clarity is their enemy. They want access to your energy, your body, your time, but without accountability. Boundaries break that illusion. The psychological principle here is self-differentiation, your ability to hold your identity and values even in emotionally intense relationships. It's what keeps you from abandoning yourself to be loved. A Stoic, like Epictetus, would tell you, never depend on the admiration of others. There is no strength in it. Personal merit cannot be derived from external validation. That's what boundaries are. Personal merit, internal power. You're not asking for too much by requiring consistency, honesty, or emotional effort. You're asking the bare minimum of someone who claims to care. And if they flinch at your standards, it's not a sign to lower them. It's a sign that their presence in your life was conditional on your self-neglect. Let that sink in. You don't set boundaries to test them. You set boundaries to protect you. And anyone who sees your worth will understand that. Because commitment is not shown in words. It's shown in how someone respects your limits, even when it's inconvenient for them. So, speak your boundary with calm, and let their response do the explaining. Number 9, stop waiting for their explanation. You replay the last conversation, you dissect every word, you wonder why they pulled away, why they chose silence over honesty, why they held you close just long enough to confuse you, and then vanished into emotional fog. You wait for an explanation, a confession, a final talk that never comes. But here's the psychological truth. Closure doesn't come from them, it comes from you. People who leave you without clarity often don't want to give it. Not because they're evil, but because clarity creates accountability, and accountability would require them to admit they wasted your time, misled you, or used your heart to soothe their own loneliness. Psychologically, this is called avoidant behavior, a defense mechanism rooted in discomfort with vulnerability and emotional responsibility. They don't give closure because they don't want to confront their own role in your pain. But here's where your power begins, when you stop chasing their explanation and start choosing your peace. A Stoic wouldn't wait for someone else's truth to begin healing. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You cannot control if they apologize. You cannot force them to explain, but you can choose to no longer let the absence of their words define the story you tell yourself. Here's the truth you must remember: they knew what they were doing, and they still did it. Your job now is not to make sense of their silence. It's to respect yourself enough not to need it. Write your own ending, close your own chapter, not because you got what you deserved, but because you're no longer willing to delay your healing for someone who couldn't give you the dignity of honesty. Closure isn't something they give you. It's a door you lock behind you when you finally realize your peace matters more than their presence. Walk through it. Number 10. The right one won't be confused about you. If someone keeps you close but never commits, it's not because love is complicated, it's because they are. Real commitment doesn't come from confusion. It doesn't require guessing, begging, or decoding mixed signals. When someone truly sees your value, they don't keep you in emotional limbo. They claim you with clarity, the harsh truth. If they wanted to, they would. But instead, they breadcrumb you with affection. They give just enough to keep you around, but not enough to give you peace. And that's a psychological tactic called intermittent reinforcement, the same mechanism used in addiction. It keeps you hooked on potential, always hoping the next emotional high is coming. But hope without action is manipulation. And the longer you accept emotional scraps, the more you train your nervous system to believe this is love. It's not. It's survival disguised as connection. It's attachment, not intimacy. The Stoics would never allow their peace to be contingent on another's indecision. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." How much more time will you waste on someone who refuses to choose you? When it's right, it won't be confusing. You won't have to perform for love. You won't have to analyze their silence like a crime scene. You'll feel safe, seen, sure. So, here's your new standard. If it costs your peace, it's too expensive. If it makes you question your worth, it's not love. And if it keeps you stuck hoping instead of growing, it's time to walk away. Not because you didn't care, but because you finally do. About yourself. Your time, your energy, your heart, they're sacred. Give them to someone who shows up fully, not someone who shows up when it's convenient. Remember, the right one won't need convincing. The right one won't fear commitment. The right one will meet you with clarity, not confusion. Because real love doesn't leave you wondering. You've just uncovered the hard truths about being kept close, but never fully committed. Now, it's your turn to take control of your story. Remember, your worth isn't defined by someone else's indecision. Your peace is your power, and your future belongs to the one who sees your value without hesitation. If you're tired of being stuck in the waiting room of someone's emotional limbo, it's time to break free. Stand tall, set your boundaries, and walk confidently toward the love and life you deserve, without compromise. If this video spoke to you, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear this truth. And most importantly, subscribe and turn on notifications, because we're just getting started. Here, you'll find the strength, wisdom, and motivation to reclaim your power, master your mindset, and live life on your own terms. You're not alone in this. Together, we rise. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.